In this week's Seder VaYeshev, we not simply have the story of the lack of brotherhood that was to be found between Yosef and his brothers, and the ultimate unfolding of the history of Klal Yisrael's descent into Egypt, and the redemption that follows with the granting of the Torah and the entire Sefer Shemos. But we actually have in the Parsha VaYeshev, interspersed within the story of Yosef, nothing less than the seeding of the Davidic dynasty. And within those psukim that describe how exactly the Davidic dynasty arose from Yehuda, the son of Yaakov Avinu, and Tamar, there is a lesson to be taught, a lesson to be learned, a lesson to be studied by all of us that does not require that one actually be a king, but rather requires that we be kingly. I believe that most of the Balei Makshava, understandably, would point to a specific incident within the greater story of Yehuda and Tamar that would presage the selection of Yehuda as the Melech B'Yisrael. What am I referring to? We know the basic storyline that Yehuda is greatly depressed and chagrined over the loss of his wife. He goes to, with his partner, with his friend, they go to shear the crop of their sheep. And when he is there, he sees a Kadesha. He sees that there is a woman, in accordance with his interpretation, of ill repute, sitting on the road. We know that this is no less than his daughter-in-law Tamar, who has not been given by Yehuda as promised to his third son, Shelah. And she yearns passionately to be part of the evolution of the Davidic dynasty. And she doesn't tell him. And he approaches her and he asks to live with her. And she responds to him, fine, but needless to say, you have to give me something. Yehuda does not have on him that which he assumes she will be accepting of. And therefore, he turns to her and he says, what should I effectively give you? To which she responds, what should you give me in order for me to live with you? Well, I need to have an Irrevocable. This is to be understood between the lines. I need to have you to leave some kind of a pledge with me until you will send me that which you're going to give me for my services, which amounted to a goat. So he turns to her and he says, what do you want? What do you want as an Irrevocable? Vatomer, and she responds, I want your signet, I want your wrap, and I want your staff, as interpreted by Art Scroll. Vayitenla, he gives it to her. He leaves it with her. She becomes pregnant. We know the rest of the story, that he is told that she is pregnant. And when she's told that she is pregnant, he says, let her be effectively given sreifa, given the punishment of burning, hot molten lead down her throat. But before that occurs, we are told that he sent his partner to retrieve that which he had given her as a guarantee. And indeed, he takes with him that which had been promised, but he can't find her. And he returns to Yehuda and he says, I asked around for the harlot, and they said not only was the particular one that I was looking for and not to be found, but there has been no Kadesha, there's been no harlot here. At which point, Vayomer Yehuda tikach la penihi yelavuz. Let her keep it, for otherwise it would be so embarrassing. Hine shalachti agdi haza, I have sent the kid, the goat. I told him, son, you haven't found her. Now jump back to what ultimately occurs. When Yehuda is informed as Tamar is being taken out to be killed, she sends a message not to embarrass him, and she says, to whomever these three things belong, to him does belong as well the patrilineal creation of the children that I bear. And Yehuda there proclaims loudly, Vayakar Yehuda vayomer tzodka mimeni, she is more righteous than I, for I have not presented her Shelah, my son. And he effectively embarrasses himself. She was not ready to do so by name. He embarrasses himself and assumes the responsibility and does not permit her to go to her death, nor for those children to be killed. And he proclaims to one and all, before Yaakov, before Yitzchak, Chazal tell us, before the Beis Din, I am the father of those children. And I was incorrect at not presenting my third son, Shelah, to her as a husband. And the story ends happily. Peretz and Zerach are born, and Peretz is the antecedent of none less than David HaMelech. And because of that moment of stoicism and ultimate responsibility, the Balei Machshava explained that Yehuda was chosen by a Kodesh Baruch Hu as a king. But perhaps there's that earlier moment where when Yehuda said to his partner, you couldn't find the woman with whom I slept? They said that she didn't even exist. Tikachla, let her take my three things, my chosam, my pasil, my mata, penihi lavuz. Because if we push further, it understandably could be extremely embarrassing. But says the Ibn Ezra, listen to these words, please. Pentihi lavuz, maybe it'll be la'ag for mockery, cause me mockery. That what? Shenosati chosom upsil lumata, a ravon al dover kalkaza. Maybe it will look so desperately, ridiculously faulty on my part, terrible on my part, that I was willing to give my chosom, my signet, and my psil, which certain Rishonim learn refer to as tefillin, and his mata of ultimate rulership as an erovan, as a pledge. Why? Al dover kal kazeh, for such a moment of lightheadedness, that horrific indiscretion and terrible decision. Because, Rabbosai, there are moments in life when people, the greatest of people, people of Malchus, people of leadership, not simply within secular history, but within Jewish history, within from religious Jewish history, unfortunately give in to the allure of the moment, as a result of which they effectively abdicate either the kingship and reign and leadership and mark upon the nation of Israel that was theirs to be seized, or that actually was already theirs and was lost. Case in point, Shaul, the first melech of Yisrael, but not from Yehuda. Shaul is instructed clearly by Shmuel HaNavi that he needs to destroy every remnant, every reminder, every remembrance of Amalek. And when Shmuel has been informed by Kodesh Baruch Hu that he has failed to do this, and he has spared so much of the cattle on Agag and the king Agag of Amalek, and he's confronted by Shmuel, Shaul says to Shmuel HaNavi, well, the animals, these animals were speared by the people. They didn't want to kill them out because they wanted to offer them as sacrifice to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when Shmuel presses further and he says to him, Halo and Katan be'einecha, why Shaul, if you happen to be small in your eyes, why you are nothing less than Rosh Shiftei Yisrael, Ata. You are nothing less than the chosen and anointed one by God to be his king and the king of his nation. And ultimately Shaul says to Shmuel, Chatasi, I have sinned. Why have I negated the command of God and your words? Because I feared the nation and I listened to them. What was he afraid of? What do you think Shaul meant, that I was afraid that the people would gang up on me and they killed me? He's the melech. He has his charges standing at his beck and call. to defend him, to kill. What was he afraid of? He wasn't afraid of them. His life was not in peril. But there are moments in life that people give him not simply for physical passion and physical allure and physical love, but they so desire the love and the following of the people that they give in to the people's choice instead of the choice they recognize fully is theirs to take on behalf of the Almighty and a greater call. And either way, both times, it's a moment of terrible indiscretion. And for a moment's indiscretion, kingship can be lost. Says the Ibn Ezra, Yehuda said to his friend, Tikachla, let her keep that which I presented to her, because I so fully, painfully recognize what I was willing to ultimately give up and to lose for that moment's indiscretion on my part. That is a moment of malchus. That is a moment of recognition of that which one needs safeguard and retain, of that which is more precious to an individual potentially, and for the balance of the nation of Klal Yisrael, that enables one to move forward. Yehuda had such a moment, a terrible moment of indiscretion, but a wonderful and magnificent moment of judgment, clarity, and fortitude. And for that moment as well, not simply Tzadka Mimeni, he and his Sheva were chosen to be the Malchus Yehuda, Malchus Beis David, to ultimately yield nothing less than Mashiach Tzidkenu. Have a wonderful Shabbos.